chose to flip it between his legs, and he flips it over the first baseman Torkelson's head. Oh, wow, that's it. That puts a tying run. That's a base hit and an error. So the Guardians got something rolling now. I can't believe he tried that.
That's why Joe Montana never used the shotgun.
Get him. He chose to flip.
So can you believe that error by Tarek Skubal of the Detroit Tigers? This is kind of how the Tigers season has came down here. We're going to talk about the Cleveland Indians / Guardians and how they've stormed back to take the lead in the AL Central Division. Now, two things we have heard a lot about this year is Cal Raleigh, the catcher for the Seattle Mariners. He has hit 60 home runs, which is a record for catchers. He is stellar. We've always heard about the New York Yankees, 1978, came back from 14 games down to tie the Boston Red Sox and then win a one-game playoff to go on to the World Series. However, the big story, unreported, and I got to just say it here on the Stand and Speak show, is the Cleveland baseball team has came back from 15 and a half games down to take the lead in the American League Central and put itself in a 98% chance position of making the playoffs. Let's go through some of the numbers. So I'm just going to call them the Cleveland Indians just to be accurate here because that's what they were for 106 years. But Cleveland has won 18 of 22 games since September 3rd, while Detroit has lost 15 of 21 games. Now the teams are tied 86 and 73 for first place in the AL Central, but Cleveland wins a tiebreaker. Right now there's 3 games left to go in the regular season. And Cleveland plays the Texas Rangers at home. Rangers are struggling, whereas Detroit plays Boston Red Sox at Fenway. And Boston is in line for a wild card berth. Both Boston, Detroit, and then also Houston and the Yankees are all fighting for those last wild card spots, 3 wild card spots. So just a month ago, Cleveland was looking up at Houston and Boston for the AL wild card, and they were several games out. They had a very small % chance of making the playoffs. So now they have stormed back in a way that is unprecedented in Major League Baseball history. So back in 1978, the Yankees trailed Boston by 14 games on the morning of July 19th. But New York finished the season going 52-21, whereas Boston went 38-35 in the last 73 games. This included a 4-game sweep where the Yankees outscored the Red Sox 42-9. It was called the Boston Massacre by the sports press back then. And that at the end of those 4 games on September 10th, the two teams were tied with 20 games left to go. Then they shuffled back and forth. They played a 1-game playoff at the end of the season, the 163rd game. The Yankees won that. Bucky Dent's 3-run homer. It's a big deal.
The count's 1-1. 2 outs and 2 on. The Red Sox lead at 2-0 in the 7th inning here at Fenway. Deep to left. Yastrzemski will not get it. It's a home run. A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2. Bucky Dent has just hit his 5th home run of the year into the screen. And look at that Yankee bench, led by Bob Lemon. Big Cliff Johnson out there. And a happy Bucky Dent.
Baseball people talk about this all the time. You know, it's just history. Yankees went on to win the World Series that year. But will they talk as much about the Cleveland team coming back from 15 and a half games down? Of course, they still got to make the playoffs. They still got to win. You know, but this is the biggest comeback in Major League Baseball history. Not the Yankees in 78, which everybody talks about all the time. So let's see what Cleveland does. 3 games left to go. and we'll see what happens. This is Lad Dilgard with the Stand and Speak Show. So let's see how we got here. Back on June 1st, Cleveland was behind 6 games from the Tigers, and the Tigers were looking very tough, 39-21. July, we're 12 games behind. Cleveland had, I think, a 10-game losing streak at that point. They had a losing record. Detroit looked very tough, 53-32. They were thinking there's no way they're going to miss the playoffs. And then August 1st, Cleveland was 8 games back. They were struggling to stay at 500. Detroit still looked very strong, 64-47. And then September 1st, Cleveland was at 500, and they were 10.5 games back. Detroit had won 80 games, 80-59. Now they're tied. So this is one of the biggest stories this year that's not being reported on very much, but 15.5 games down, whereas the Yankees, they've gotten all this press over the years for 1978, Bucky Dent and all this stuff. But Cleveland, this is a story. Now, 3 games left to play. Texas Rangers at home. Cleveland has Texas Rangers at home. Detroit has Boston on the road. And Boston is looking at a wild card berth. They're right in the thick of it with the Yankees, Astros, Tigers, and they're going to be playing tough. Texas hasn't played very well. So Cleveland still has to make the playoffs. We'll see where they go. But I think this story should go down in history and get more play. So this has been Lad Dilgard on the Stand and Speak Show. Have a great weekend.